Hey everyone, welcome to the Project Esports podcast for, what is it, October 29th. It is almost Halloween, spooky season is almost over, and Dylan is so scared that he got up and almost ran away because he is not ready for the end of spooky season. But, nonetheless, it is great to have you all back. I missed being on last week, but Will did such a great job talking about Call of Duty, all that kind of stuff, and I think we got a good amount of news for today, too. What do you guys think? Are you guys excited about today? Whatever about the news?
I'm ready.
Yeah, I'm excited. We get some good topics today.
Yeah, and I just think I don't think any of them are world changing. I think we talked on a couple of them before, but I just think they're cool, and a lot of them just kind of show more of like kind of how esports is just growing, which is my favorite kind of stuff to talk about. And what are you laughing at already?
I was gonna say I already disagree. I think it is pretty big and changing.
Oh my god. Okay. Well, it's gonna be a good podcast, guys. I promise. Okay, but I am gonna hand it off to you, Dylan, just whether you agree or not with the first topic of today. But actually, before that, jokes. Housekeeping. We do not have any interviews or anything coming up like that. We've heard you guys. You want more interviews. We're working on scheduling a bunch of them right now. We actually have one being recorded later this week. I'm not going to tell you who, but we do have that happening and more down the road. And additionally, if you do have Amazon Prime, that means you have Twitch Prime. That means you can connect both accounts, push the little button right above, James right now, and subscribe to the channel. That gives you emotes, that gives you ad-free viewing, that just helps us out too. So if you can't do that, connect your account. That means the world to us. So what do you got, Dylan?
No more ad-free viewing for Prime.
Oh yeah, they took that out. I'm sorry. You're supporting us. We love you guys for it. So that is what it is. Prime is still worth it. But Dylan, now I will hand it out. Let's get out of this awkward introduction and get going into some news.
All right. So big news is celebrities getting into esports. So I guess we'll start with the smallest, quote unquote, smallest one so far. Yeah. So the first thing is that HyperX added Post Malone as like a brand ambassador. So that's probably the smallest one. So basically, Post Malone is just gonna be using HyperX gear, I guess, and stuff now.
You think you're putting on a big headset on stage and just go at it while he's performing, or
probably just like a lot of Instagram posts with it and stuff like that, which is kind of cool because it's like it's a deal. It's a pretty cool deal, especially for HyperX because they're very like a big gamer brand, but they're not like the top tier gamer brand. Like I would expect this out of like maybe Razer, because they're like Razer's like in Walmarts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it's like everywhere. So HyperX was not the one I thought it would be, but I'm pretty sure Post Malone's a fairly big gamer. So
oh yeah, no, I was just about to say that. Like I wouldn't say he's going out. I mean, he's not making bold claims like Elon Musk is on Twitter about some of his preferences. We can talk about that at a later point. But he's always been pretty vocal about it. He's that guy. Like, oh yeah, games are cool. Like he's did a little bit of a sponsorship with Call of Duty and stuff like that. He's always been more vocal than a lot of people about it, but he's not one of the people that go on there and stream every day. This might get him to stream occasionally, which would be kind of cool, and I think I'd watch that at least once or twice. But he's always kind of been more towards the gamer side. I mean, he kind of admits that he's a little bit more on that nerdy side, which I enjoy that about him.
I think a big thing to look at this too is that HyperX is one of the more respected kind of game brands or like the hardcore scene. It's brands like Razer, I hate to say it, are like the quality control has started to go to the wayside despite the fact that how popular they become. So HyperX is on like the same spectrum as like Corsair and like all these other like very like much more higher tier, a higher brand gaming gear. So I think Post probably, if he is any bit of a gamer like he has kind of said, I'm sure he recognizes like the quality that like HyperX does, because their headsets are like top tier. They're amazing.
And despite as much it may sound like it, no, we're not sponsored by HyperX. James is totally just shilling out right now.
Yeah. Well,
that would be like. Yeah, that would be a really good kind of advertising right there. Like, oh, they got the quality. Like, they're all about it. That would have been a good advertisement. So, HyperX, if you're watching,
it's not for me, but I do understand where they're coming from, right?
Yeah. All right, Dylan. What's not the smallest one?
Yeah, and so we have two stories. So I'm going to go through both of them. We can kind of take them by team. So there was two big pickups by teams. So the first one was that Michael Jordan is now like part of the investment group that's investing into Team Liquid. like Michael Jordan, like the Michael Jordan,
Not Michael B.
basketball
Jordan,
name.
Michael Jordan.
Yeah, Air Jordan himself, and then Drake and Scooter Braun invested into 100 Thieves, which is huge for them. Like that's big names, huge names. So we can take it kind of by team. So I guess let's start with Team Liquid because it's like like one of the biggest names in basketball of all time, and also one of the biggest teams in esports, and definitely one of the oldest teams that have been around. So
yeah, I mean, so in terms of size, I mean, I was just looking up before, and I had to close it out, so I don't know anymore. But if I remember, they are the number 2 largest esports organization in terms of value in the world. I think they're valued somewhere over 200 million. I may be making that number up. Already forgot from the Forbes article, but they're worth a lot of money too. So I mean, for Jordan, I mean, they're not. This isn't the first time that group has kind of made an investment like this. I mean, I'm pretty sure they went in and invested in a baseball team and a basketball team last year too.
I think Philly was a basketball team.
Yeah, I don't remember what, but this investment group that he's a part of, I think he's just kind of more of a face of it. Obviously, his money's in there too. But this group has been very good about kind of diversifying and doing a lot on the sports and even esports side now too. So I think not only is this really cool, I mean, being able to say, oh, we're associated with Air Jordan. One, since the name is on the brand, who knows? You could see Jordan merch coming from Team Liquid down the road, which would be.
I'd buy Team Liquid Jordans.
Yeah. If you even do that and then have just a double lift like along the side or something kind of like that, like,
exactly.
That would be so cool. And we were talking about it'd be the first brand that's not like what's the one that they partnered with last year? Like I remember there's a shoe brand we talked about a couple months ago.
Oh, was it Skechers? It was Skechers.
It was just some small brand. Like they're cool, but like having Jordans for Team Liquid would be pretty awesome.
Just to fact check your point earlier, Andrew, Team Liquid is number 3 on the Forbes list, behind first Cloud9 and then second TSM.
TSM, that was number 2. Okay.
Yeah, Team Liquid is valued at 200 million, where Cloud9 is 310 and TSM is 250.
That's a crazy amount of money.
It is. It's insane. Yeah. The interesting thing about that list though is that where Team Liquid has the most amount of teams, they're ranked number 3, and Cloud9 has 11. TSM 7 and then Team Liquid 14. So that's I know we did plan on getting into that at some point. I don't know if this is the right time for it.
I mean, I was just saying we were just talking a little bit in pre-show, and I was surprised that like to me in the esports scene, I think when you have more teams and more players, that your revenue is going to be higher. I know it's not guaranteed; it's competitions. But, I mean, if you are... Hang on, I don't know. Let me finish my point here. So, number 1 overall, Cloud9 makes 22 million in revenue each year. Number 2, TSM, which has less than half the amount of players, makes 25 million. And I don't understand where that comes from. And I think this is part of the reason why you do see some teams cutting back, which might be what you're kind of going towards here, is that just because you have more players and more teams... Oh no, so this is actually against my point. I don't see how this is happening. Like, if you have more players, you should be making more money. If you have more teams, more chances to win money, you should be making more money.
No, because they don't make their money off of competitions. Teams don't make their money from winning competitions inherently. It's like a bonus, basically. Like, it's really nice if they're winning, and probably some of the, like, really low-end teams, like maybe some of the best amateur teams and stuff like that, are making their actual revenue off of winnings. But actual pro teams aren't banking on just winning for the most part in terms of League of Legends, because when you're paying for like spots and stuff like that, and you're paying your players a ton of money, there's no way you can win that all back. The prize pool just isn't that big, especially in League when you're basically just doing everything up into Worlds and stuff. So the way that you're making your money is through investors and through sponsorships.
But the thing is, we're not just talking about League. We're talking about a bunch of different sports, and I can't remember what it was.
Regardless, with these teams that are in multiple different things, what they're paying their players probably the most, like the players who are making the most money are probably in League. If they have fighting games, they're not paying their fighting games players probably anything. So like those players, I don't want to say they don't matter, but they almost don't matter, because all they're doing is paying for their flights and their hotels, which in terms of a company that's worth $200 million, that's negligible. That's like couch money that you find like in between like the cushions. Like it doesn't matter.
in reality, the teams that actually field, or the companies that field more teams, like, and more numbers, are actually kind of almost like hurting themselves, because they're branching out into so many smaller teams where they don't actually make that much money, but they are.
But it doesn't
still
cost them
provide-
anything.
No. So their revenue is not going up, and their profit margins are lower because they're paying more players, and like the amount of money that they're investing in the players is lower.
Yeah.
But what we're seeing is Team Liquid is number 3. One of the reasons why they're number 3 is because for the longest time they were like the esports organization that was in multiple games, doing multiple teams for all the big esports, and that's why they have such a strong brand. And when you have a team that's in multiple things, you have really, really strong brands, because whether you're someone who's into Dota, League of Legends, or maybe you're just into fighting games, you would know what some of these teams are. Like Evil Geniuses back in the day, for instance. Like, you could like basically any esport and still be an EG fan, because they were in all the different esports, and that's what makes a brand really strong. And so when you approach someone like, I don't know, let's just say Nike, for instance, right? You're like, hey, Nike, we want to bring you on as a sponsor. And they go, well, why? And you go, well, we have great teams in all these esports rather than just one really good League of Legends team. And so that's why you want to have a ton of different players and a ton of different teams, because it makes your brand really strong, so that you can pursue these really big companies, because then they look at you as a really strong brand that's in all the esports rather than just one.
Okay, I succeed. You win.
Yeah. And it is to note too that despite the fact that Team Liquid is number 3 on the Forbes list, I'm gonna link this in the chat right now. On top of that, they're the only company that fields 14 teams. They're the only one that can sustain that, and that's and again, like, that's why I think it dings them down the list a little bit, because they are so spread out. But again, it opens up avenues like, Air Jordan himself investing in the team, right? So I'm sure now that we have that Michael money coming in there, I think that list will probably change a little bit, I can imagine.
I think this is including that. I think this came in.
Okay.
I'm not 100% positive, but this came out the same week both of those big investments did happen. So I don't know how big. Maybe those amounts haven't been announced yet. But these were like evaluations of a certain day, and valuations don't instantly rise when investments are made. It's just that evaluation is what companies like buy in for, like, percentages of like stock ownership is. So the evaluation doesn't instantly change. That's just more cash kind of coming into them. So just because there's all this big stock, they have more cash. So obviously their value goes up, but it's not always the same amount, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and to note on the article, it does actually list Drake and Scooter Braun as co-owners of 100 Thieves on there. So I'm sure it does factor in Michael Jordan. Yeah.
So and I guess that's kind of a good transition to kind of what we think about the 100 Thieves investment. I mean, I have some strong opinions on this, so I'll leave it for you two to kind of start off with. But what do you guys?
Strong opinion. You're wearing a 100 Thieves shirt right now.
Yeah. Well, I know.
You talk about like brand ambassador, and here he is just wearing the shirt right now.
It's a cool shirt.
I think this is kind of impressive because they were just formed in 16.
Yeah.
They're not an old team.
Was it 16 or 17?
Nope, 2016 is when they were first formed, and they're not an old team. I mean, they're really good, and they have really good like names behind them and stuff. But I think it's pretty impressive for them to be at this level, and they have really good management. If they're reaching out to like they're getting like Drake and stuff on board, like they're doing good stuff there.
Yeah, they're like this is pretty insane, and again, just because there's two big influences that come with Drake being tied to 100 Thieves. You get a huge portion of the hip hop market being like, oh, Drake's into this, what is this, that sort of thing. And then again, you get the Canadian aspect. I mean, we're a pretty big country.
Oh God!
And you give us something, it's gonna stick.
Well, Scooter Braun too, isn't that like Justin Bieber's manager or something like that?
That doesn't matter to us. We like you ever see like oh my God, was it Children of the Corn? Like, yeah, that's Justin to us. We put him up for tribute, so we can have a good harvest. But yeah, no.
So I think what the difference is here is it even says it in the press release for the 100 Thieves when they said Drake invested, that this is going into clothing lines and entertainment. They are not building an esports organization. 100 Thieves is not Team Liquid. They are an entertainment. I guess all esports teams are really just an entertainment organization that focuses on esports and competitive gaming. But 100 Thieves is taking it even farther because they are putting it into fashion. I would not be surprised if they got into a lot of other kind of content production, and esports just being one of their branches. They're going to be multi-versatile in terms of this. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't watched a single 100 Thieves game yet, ever. Not even a VOD. But I still went, and on the day that their fall fashion line came out, I sat there and bought something. Even though I have no affiliation with the team any whatsoever. I don't care about them. I think they're cool. I think their clothing is super cool. But what they're building is a brand that can be mainstream. Because they're not building it with esports in mind, but instead consumers, merchandising, entertainment, and making money.
But how? How are they an entertainment organization if they don't do anything besides esports? Like,
this is what it's going into, though. I mean, it even says it in the press release. It doesn't mention esports in the press release.
No, but this is like one of those things where I feel like they call it an entertainment like company, but they really just do esports. Like, I don't see how they're supposed to branch out from that because it doesn't make sense to me. That's like saying, like, if you took like the Boston Red Sox, topical meme, but if you took like Boston Red Sox and you're like, oh, well, they're not just a baseball team, they're an entertainment organization, and it doesn't make any sense. Like, are they gonna be sponsoring like musicians? It doesn't really make any sense. Like, I can understand if like if you push it a little bit far, like the definition and said some like a team like Method, right? They make content on YouTube. They have streamers who like live stream, and they also compete in WoW. So like if you maybe branch out there, because like maybe their WoW stuff isn't always esports. Like maybe if that's how they're branching out, but I just don't understand how they're supposed to be an entertainment organization.
Once again, my team, the LA Valiant, is coming to back me up here. They're a lifestyle brand. I like that so much more than entertainment because they are building a brand that they want you to associate with more than just esports. I mean, the 100 Thieves. I mean, it doesn't say esports. It's not organization. Like they just do it as 100 Thieves flat. They want to be selling clothing. Their goal is to sell clothing to people that have no idea what esports is. They don't care about that. That's why they brought Drake in. That's why they bought Scooter Brahman. Both people huge in the entertainment and music industry. That Drake knows how to sell his music, but also clothing and being advertising and just being a billboard himself. And that's why they're bringing these two in. And that's probably why they came in, because they see that they can do the same kind of strategies with the 100 Thieves as they do with that. Think of any record label. There's nothing behind a record label except for individual musical artists, but some people still get behind record labels and buy gear and stuff such as that. You can have one big thing and that is just ambiguous and still be a lifestyle brand, still sell clothing.
Well, no, here's the thing though. Like if it's a record label, it still has the unifying thing of we have musicians who make music, and typically they all have like something that like forms them all together. So a lot of labels, we only do hip hop or whatever, or like some of them are like, oh, we're a punk label. Like typically this is what labels are. And so that's why people get behind labels. And that's where they're like, oh, I like this label because a lot of the stuff they signed is music that I'm into. And I like what they're signing. So that makes sense that they're making merch, because if you think about it, a music label is kind of just like a team, so to speak. Yeah. They're doing all the same things a team would do. So whenever 100 Thieves is like, we want to be an entertainment organization, I still don't understand it. Like, yeah, sure, you can have really cool merch, but why? Like, are they trying to push into be more of a like
a fashion brand,
like a fashion line?
Yeah.
Because like I understand being an esports team with a really cool fashion line, but are they trying to separate from esports and do more fashion? Like, I don't understand what, like, I get that they could do it, but I don't understand why they're doing it. I don't understand how they're going to do it.
Well, I think it's.
I don't think they understand how they're going to do it yet either, but they know where they want to end up. I think that is the biggest
why
thing.
Though?
Yeah, and that's the question I want to know is why? Why are you starting as an esports organization and then saying, you know what, we're going to go in a totally opposite direction and become a lifestyle brand?
You can branch into multiple different things. I mean, Fine. Think of Procter and I'm not. I'm trying to think of something like Coke. Coke, one big brand, one huge brand. Coke is a lifestyle brand, but they have multiple different products that all bring in revenue to one big brand. But people can still associate. I don't know. Does Coke own Doritos? Like you can associate one type of thing up with the big brand. I think we're going really deep into this. I think we can fight about this for days.
I have insight. I have insight.
Okay.
Though. I have insight, and it makes sense. LA Valiant coming in clutch brought up that they were a clothing brand before an esports organization, which I did some research. I did some research on Wikipedia. So apparently, Nate Shot was like, "Hey, we're gonna be a sick Call of Duty team." The team failed, and they're like, "Oh, let's just make merch instead." And then they made merch, and it did really well. And then they're like, "Oh no, we can actually have an esports team again." So maybe
we can fund it.
Yeah, so that makes sense, sort of. So
it's a fashion brand with an esports team.
Yeah,
I guess it's a little. It seems like a little bit of both, though. But
no, that's fine.
Yeah, no, it's fine, and I understand it. I'm totally on board if they want to have be a really sick fashion company with esports. But how is it entertainment? I just want to know what that means.
Entertainment was wrong. Lifestyle was the word I meant. Not entertainment.
No. That wasn't your words, though. That was in the article, though, right?
Because content is entertainment. Anything put on YouTube can be considered content. What we do can be considered entertainment. Where else would he put us? We're in the entertainment industry. We are attempting to entertain people with our opinions and news stories. We are Project Esports is an entertainment company.
I don't know if we're doing it that well, boys.
But the question is, why are they using that word instead of just esports? Why are they using that?
Because that's a word they use to bring Drake and Scott Abram in.
They use the word strategic advisors for Drake and Scooter Braun. That's what they use them for, as strategic advisors. So it's almost they're advising them in what is he doing, in one aspect or another that isn't really clear in the press release. It doesn't really say what they're strategically, angling them towards. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man.
Well, I'm just glad the LA Valiant's in the chat because that gives us a lot more kind of information what's going on. It shows we should do more research going into that because that would have made my statement kind of a little more accurate if I would have led with that. But nonetheless, I still want to make the bold statement that I think within 3 years they will be in the top 5 of valuation for the esports industry because they are focusing on more. And I think
what are they, number 11 right now?
They're at number 11 right now. And it's just under $100,000 is what they're valued at right now.
I don't think that's that bold of a prediction.
I don't think it's that bold of a prediction, but I just think that it's coming in. I mean, they're coming in so quickly is why it's more kind of bold, and seeing the numbers, it's not really that crazy to believe or anything kind of like that. But just that someone in 5 years can go to being a clothing brand with a failed Call of Duty team to being a high-valued esports organization, and they count it in Forbes, but if they are kind of more of a lifestyle brand, it'd be curious because they're one of the first brands to really kind of have that side. I mean, every team sells merch, but no one sells it as a lifestyle brand. But that's kind of a little prediction, but it's not as bold as I'd like it to be leading off.
I want to see. Well, yeah, I agree with the LA Valiant saying that all esports evaluations should be taken with a grain of salt. That's totally accurate. But I'm interested to see.
Episode with esports.
I'm concerned to see how 100 Thieves transitions, because if anybody's been paying attention, which Andrew, you stated you clearly are not, and Dylan, I know you don't know, 100 Thieves, by their biggest market, their biggest fan base, their League of Legends fan base, is absolutely trashing them, flaming them, all this shit.
Oh no, I've to give me more credit than that. When they had a horrible world performance, they had that subreddit. The subreddit just went after them.
1 second.
Right in the middle of a big point, he has to go deal with his cat, and he's just kicking it right out of the room. But no, and I think I kind of get what he's kind of going at, is that their biggest market. But I think that yes, it is their biggest market, but if they're already established beforehand, is it really? I mean, or is this just a growing market? Is this just a market they're expanding into right now?
I don't know. That's just it. Like, because I mean, yes, their clothing lines do go like immediately, and I do understand that their
Too quickly.
brand
I didn't even get the long sleeve that I wanted.
well, that's just it. Almost too quick, right? But as far as I feel at this point, they've transitioned from being known as a lifestyle brand to an esports team by the general public. The general public sees them as more of as an esports brand more than a lifestyle brand. That's it's totally out of their control. That's happened. They're also associated with the Cleveland Cavaliers 2K team. You know what I mean? So I mean they've surpassed. I think they've surpassed what they, or not even surpassed, but they've transitioned from something that they maybe didn't want to be. Maybe they don't want to be known as an esports brand, but the vast majority of people who know this brand know it as an esports team, myself included. So I think that could end up hurting them, because if their teams don't perform well, it's going to hurt the business overall. You know what I mean? And despite how awesome their merch is, you know what I mean? Like if their teams are constantly underperforming or they're being mismanaged, which again we saw with like the whole Cody Sun debacle. Yeah. It's gonna be negative light for the team, which means negative light for the brand, which means less shit sells.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
No, I get that.
Well, I think the hurdle they're trying to get over is that one specifically, because I know this is a problem in esports with a lot of different teams. A lot of people want to wear esports merchandise that doesn't look like esports merchandise.
Yeah,
that's exactly what, and this is probably why they kind of do that. I mean, you would never be able to guess by this that had anything to do with video games in the world. And I think that's one thing, and yeah, that's not something that you see very often in esports, and that's something that I've looked at. Like that's part of the reason I bought that Worlds sweater, because like you would not be able to tell that it's from League of Legends unless you kind of looked at the sticker down on the bottom of it. Which that is something I kind of agree with. Even being so passionate about esports and very open about it at this point, I still prefer my clothing options not 100% presented unless it's the baseball jersey for 100 Thieves. I would rock that thing and tell everyone where it's from. But go on, I'm sorry.
No, yeah, that's it. That's what people want. And like if they can give it to them like that, and they can present it in a way of where someone else looks at it and goes, hey, that's a dope shirt, I'm going to buy it. And they're maybe someone who's not even into video games at all. I think that's where they kind of want to move towards. So that would.
Yeah. No, and I agree. And I guess since they're in the chat and they give us love and they interact with us, LA Valley did just release a clothing line too. It was exclusive to event, but they're putting it online eventually. And they're doing a great job there too. It's like none of it, I mean, it says Los Angeles Valiant and stuff kind of like that. They have their logo. But again, they're doing a great job of it not being an esports clothing line, but a kind of a fashion clothing line that anyone can wear, and you would not be able to guess it. So teams are starting to figure that out, and I think
Outlaws.
Outlaws did a great job of that too. And I think that is something really important of kind of getting it more into the mainstream. I mean, it's sad that you kind of have to hide the intentions, but if that's what gets us in the mainstream, like, oh, that's a really cool shirt. Where do you get it? Then they go look into it and fall down the deep hole that is esports. I think that's just kind of good for everyone. But I think we could talk about the business side of esports for an hour, but we are already 30 minutes in the show, so we should move on to our second news story of the day, which just kind of came up today, and it was something kind of last minute and not too... I mean, Dylan might disagree with me. Dylan disagrees with me on everything. But
oh, yeah.
Ninja is going to be live streaming on New Year's Eve at Times Square. Up on the big screen.
This is huge.
Is it going to be on TV? Is it going to be on the TV show?
They didn't say specifically, but if you were streaming from Times Square, you could probably assume it's going to be on one of those TVs. If it's on one of the big TVs, like this is like, even if it's only on Twitch, but they're putting the Twitch stream up there, like that's giant. Do you know how many people are in Times Square on New Year's Eve? How many eyes are right there? It's insane. Like even just during normal, like today, right? Like even today, like ads there are probably some of the most expensive places to put it. It's incredible. This is actually huge. Like everyone is going to see this. They're going to be like, who is this man? Who is this human paintbrush? Who is this human paintbrush up here that is playing video games? Like this is a big deal. I think this is huge.
Human paintbrush.
That was a stolen meme. I don't want to take credit for it. It was a stolen meme.
I figured it was.
I was gonna say that's wicked.
But I just think that yes, this is another level in it, but I already feel like Ninja's at that level I mean, the
So,
only
okay,
thing
so-
that he hasn't been done is just being live streamed straight to ESPN, which I would not be surprised if that happened at some point if he was on ESPN channel 28 for me.
No, it just solidifies it though, because
Yeah.
like his big moment in the public right now, like we're talking like mainstream public, like
Yes.
was Ellen. Like people who watch Ellen have no idea what video games basically are for the most part. And so this is another instance of Ninja being in like the hyper mainstream spotlight, and that just kind of solidifies it more because like, yeah, one random appearance on Ellen, sure, people might kind of think about it, but you get another second appearance in the hyper mainstream, that just like solidifies the idea of like live streaming video games and esports and stuff in people's minds.
Yeah. I guess just to me, I mean, the Lollapalooza stream. I mean, you showed on that sometimes here and there too, and live streaming there, and had a ton of people there. I mean, the Ellen show, playing with Drake. I agree that it solidifies it, but I don't know if this is a next step. Because, yes, this is a brand new thing for video games as a whole. This has never been done before. And that's a very cool step, but I don't know if it's bigger than things he's already done. I think it's super cool. Don't get me wrong.
Lollapalooza, right? Those are mostly young people there. Mostly young people.
Okay.
All of them, for the most part, should know about the internet and kind of like stuff that's going on the internet. Playing with Drake, people who listen to Drake and follow him on social media are in that sphere, even if they're not directly involved. People who are kind of on the internet, on Twitter and stuff, and follow Drake, probably they're like one step away from video gaming and esports and stuff. Even if they don't play, they can like it's within arm's reach for them. Being on Ellen is huge. People who watch Ellen, like some of them don't even know anything besides Facebook and YouTube and Gmail. Like,
and that their kids play video games. That's the other thing too. That's their exposure. Yeah.
New Year's Eve, like everyone watches New Year's Eve.
That's in your face.
Yeah. Like my grandparents have been watching Dick Clark for like 80 years. Like this is something that is like everyone watches this. Everyone watches New Year's, like the at least the countdown and the ball drop and stuff. Like this is really, really big.
Yeah, I think this is not only so maybe in context, like for Ninja himself, this seems like the next reasonable step, and it's not like Andrew, and that's why you're processing it. This guy's like, okay, this guy's done so many big appearances, he's done so many big events that it's like this just seems logical, and this isn't like a really surprise. But you got to think of for the esports and video game market as a whole, this is untouchable.
And that's the thing. I don't consider Ninja a part of esports anymore.
But he is. Like,
Yeah,
I mean,
he plays esports.
Yes.
He competes in video games.
He competes in that, but he is bigger than it now. He has evolved past that level. If you're saying, okay, Epic is going to host a tournament that's going to be shown there, that is esports. But having one of the hottest names in probably all of the world live streaming there, while cool, it doesn't help esports. It gets more people into Fortnite, which people aren't happy with Fortnite esports, 1, and 2, it's not competitive. It's not watching a competitive esports event. It is watching a personality which you already watch every New Year's Eve on screen the entire time. It's another personality doing video games.
No. But I don't think that was the argument that we were getting into, though. But like, I think it's hard to comprehend because we're so in our sphere.
That's true.
That we actually have a bias and we don't understand what people outside the sphere are viewing. Just like how they have the bias of not being able to view us. Because whenever you have this person like, yeah, sure, like it's about Ninja and it's about what Ninja is doing, but the concept of what he is doing is so foreign to people that like he almost doesn't matter. It's the fact that he's doing this thing and no one understands the thing that he's doing that people are going to gravitate towards and like try to understand, because like, yeah, sure, Ninja's really big, he's a really big personality, but they're going, what is he doing up there? Like, what is his thing?
This is the way the conversation is going to go. It's who is this guy? Why does he make so much money? And then the person who's involved in the scene goes, oh, he's not the only one who makes money doing this. People make this playing this professional, make money like that, playing this professionally. Professional video gaming is a thing, and then leading into the explanation of esports. That I think is how the conversation is going to go. Explaining to somebody who again doesn't have a bias like we do. This is such a hard topic for us to try and digest and try and break down because we don't really know what the thought process is we won't know this until after New Year's. Like that's just it. Like I'm half tempted to bring my freaking mom on here to be like, hey mom, what did you you watched the drop, right? What'd you think of this guy? What do you think his deal is? And I mean, I hate to say it, even she has a bias because I've sat here and made her watch our podcast, but I mean, like it's one of those things that you really do need somebody who's an exterior and like who has no bias whatsoever, who doesn't know what anything about esports is, that it's even a thing. You know what I mean? You kind of need that to really digest what kind of effect Ninja is going to have on the general populace that is like unassociated with esports, right? Because I think again it's going to be this: who is this guy? Why does he make so much money? Who else makes this kind of money? Go from there. I think that's how it's going to go. But this is just like a hypothetical. I'm not entirely sure, but that seems like the logical like thought process, right?
Yeah. And I think we're getting really wrapped up, and I think we need to see how it kind of goes on New Year's even, what it is, what the reactions are, if it's actually on live TV and stuff kind of like that. So we'll bring that back.
We don't even know what it's going to look like.
Yeah, we don't know much at all. This was just announced today.
Do we know he's going to play Fortnite? Is that confirmed? Like
No.
So he could be playing Battlefield, or like he could be playing COD. You know what I mean? Like we have no idea.
So I think we need to wrap this up here and move on. We're 40 minutes into the show, 2 topics out of 4. So we need to get chugging along, and we're handing you off to a League of Legends, so we know that's taking up some time here, Jim.
I'm gonna like okay, so
I'll see you boys later.
No, but no, it's okay. I mean, there's only 2 series that was played this weekend. You can't possibly take more than half an hour, right?
No, this is gonna be a fairly quick segment, mainly because they were both 3-0s.
Yeah.
So Cloud9, NA's Last Hope, as anybody who follows our Twitter saw it go up.
One of my proudest memes.
It wasn't bad. They were eliminated by our European overlords, Fnatic. It was
embarrassing.
It was embarrassing. The pace of the series was set in game 1. It was set in game 1, and Fnatic just ran over Cloud9. Cloud9 did not look like the same team. You saw players were exposed. That was the thing that a lot of people were saying after watching the series. Sven Skaren was exposed for his over-aggression. Licorice was exposed the fact that he is not as good of a rookie as Bwipo. The drafting was exposed by putting Jensen on Lysandra for 3 games, which a player of that caliber who plays assassins very well and is known for his assassin play, it just didn't make sense. People couldn't wrap their head around it in a meta where so many things is dedicated to laning and getting a lead through laning. You kind of like shot your biggest asset in the foot. So it was really weird to see. It was really weird.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is it for G2 and Cloud9. Despite the fact that they had, they did get 3-0'd, and everybody's just like, oh my god, they got 3-0'd. That kind of sucked. You gotta remember the storylines for both these teams. G2 rebuilt that team. There's only one founding member on it, Perks, who we talked about, I think, a little bit last week on how he was after it. This guy looked mentally taxed. He looked exhausted, and he was just like almost emotionally shut down. But this organization rebuilt around Perks, and they made it this far. They were the 3rd seed. So was Cloud9. They were both 3rd seeds that battled through play-ins to make it to the semifinals. That's a pretty big deal for any of this team.
And I don't think either team disappointed in any means. I mean, I decided for whatever reason that this weekend was going to be the time that I woke up and I watched both series at 3 a.m. live. And I regret that now a little bit with both the outcomes. But as embarrassing and kind of big of a shutout both of those series were, neither team disappointed. I mean, Cloud9 was in 10th place. We were talking about this a little bit on Twitter during the live event, is that they were in 10th place of the NA, and to go on to make it the semifinals and be the NA's last hope, that is an amazing storyline. The team did really well. I'm incredibly proud of them for all that. G2, not as big of a storyline, but still a huge storyline too. And they were already kind of doing decent during the season. So I think both of those teams, despite the outcome, did a lot better than anyone really expected to that point. And I think Fnatic versus Invictus is going to be a great series. That is definitely not a 3-0.
Yeah, I've watched from every analyst that I've watched. Riot's really good about this. They do their own podcast called The Dive.
Yeah.
And it's basically four casters / analysts to kind of break it down. And nobody could put a clear thing on it. It was either 3-2 or 3-1.
And I hope it is, because I'm waking up on.
It's, honestly, in my opinion, after watching so much of Worlds and digesting it all, it's going to be 3-2 either way. Like it's going to be a 5-game match. It's ridiculous. It's insane. So. The big thing for me, the big takeaway for me, and why I'm so sold on Fnatic is, again, it's the mindset, the mental forward, like the mental headspace of these players. After watching their interviews and stuff like that, these guys are unshakable. Like it's crazy. You can't touch them. Yeah. So I think that is going to be a huge factor. They don't crumble, they don't break, and I think that's going to be, in the end, what it means for them. That being said, on Invictus, like, there's a huge storyline there as well, which a lot of people don't talk about because, again, we are the West, so we don't think about like the Eastern storyline so much. But Rookie for years left Korea for like basically better prospects. Rookie being the IG mid laner, and basically wanted to make a better name for himself over in China. And he hadn't been able to do that for years, and now this is like his big chance. In the one tournament where no Korean team made it past into semis, like. Which is unheard of. It's ridiculous. For him to make it this far, like, I mean, it's really interesting to see. Plus, his team is pretty like seasoned as well, right? So it's gonna be interesting to see like what comes of it. I'm definitely gonna be watching it live. It's gonna be ridiculous.
Well, yeah. Well, we'll be chatting in Slack as that goes on. But I guess you picked Fnatic. As much as I wanted Cloud9 to move on, I did have Fnatic in my pick'ems. And Dylan, do you have any left or right on this?
Yeah, Invictus. I feel pretty good about that prediction.
You feel good about it? I like it.
Going with the East is generally the right answer here, so he's not wrong. But thank you very much for that wrap up. We'll talk about it more next week, maybe with a little bit more time to kind of wrapping up Worlds, what we thought of the opening ceremony, which I'm really excited for, and all that kind of stuff too.
Yeah.
But with that, we do have one more last one, which I'm kind of excited about. I think all three of us are going to have opinions on this. Is 2 new teams were announced last week for the Overwatch League. My very first bullet point in the outline was Andrew was right. Just...
Oh my god.
You're welcome. But we had one of the Canadian teams, Toronto, the Toronto Defiant, which we'll talk about our opinions on that and kind of their lead-up event there. And then the Atlanta Reign. Both teams were announced. The entire Atlanta Reign roster has been announced, and part of the Toronto Defiance roster has been announced. I am just going to kind of defer both of those tomorrow night for Watch House. I know both of them are. All of them are going to be talking about that. I don't have much on the rosters. I've been watching and I know a little bit about them, but I don't feel like any of us follow the amateur scene or like kind of lower levels near enough to make good of things on that. So I want to talk to both of you guys about the brands. Yeah. What do you think about them? And then I want to talk a little bit about the Toronto Defiant event. But like out of 10, what would you rank the Defiant, and then what would you rank the Reign? I want to hear it from Dylan first.
They're both low. Yeah, I think they're both low. I mean,
can you give me reasons?
I guess. Well, first of all, I don't really care for the color schemes that much.
Same color schemes for both teams, you mean?
Yeah, they're basically the same color schemes. They're like darker colors with like red accents or whatever. It's not interesting to me. It's not an interesting kind of like design. It's like, sure, I've seen black everywhere or whatever, and I've seen red used everywhere. I mean, it's kind of the same reason why we changed our branding a little bit.
Yeah, exact same reason.
Because it's something that you've seen everywhere before, and it's boring and it's tired, and like I don't like. So the Toronto Defiant, the name is fine. The name is just fine. I don't care about the name too much. I think it's okay. It doesn't get me excited, but it's okay. I like steeping into the other topic that we're going to after, but I don't know. Their announcement was funny to me, I guess, because I don't care about the city as much. So the reason why they are the Defiant, I thought was.
Yeah, that's kind of like that was a weak reason.
It was a little silly to me. I hate the name Reign. I think it's terrible. I think it's an awful name. Terrible, like garbage tier name. Like I cannot stress.
Oh wait. New York XL, New York Excelsior.
Excelsior, yes.
Atlanta Reign.
Yeah, Excelsior is pretty bad, but like it's bottom tier. Like at least Excelsior can do like NYXL, and that's kind of sick. Like, and it's a pretty sick abbreviation.
And they're a great team
but
too.
Like
so.
Reign has nothing. they're like, oh, we're the Rain now, I guess. And something really funny is everyone was they were like quote tweeting and like retweeting and like plugging in the Seattle Rain, which I guess is a soccer team, or for our Euro friends, football club. But like it makes sense because it's like the Seattle Rain. It rains in Seattle, but it's spelled the same way. So people are like, what about this team? They're also the Rain.
Yeah.
So regardless, I think the name sucks. Like, why would they choose Rain? Like it makes sense for like a team like Seattle or like anywhere where it's kind of rainy.
Well, that is not what I think of for.
No, it's garbage.
Yeah.
Terrible.
So,
bottom tier.
I'm gonna. There's a bit of a bias with me in Toronto. There's a bit of a bias. The whole city reasoning and stuff like that. Like I totally agree. It was weak.
And Toronto, I mean, it'd be one thing if Canadians weren't known for being like incredibly nice and stuff, but now you're rising up and like being defiant. It goes literally against everything Canada's like.
That's just it, man. Like we're I don't know, man. It's like somebody in like in a defiant management was like, you know what, we're breaking the mold, boys, and this is how we're gonna do it. And it's just no, guys, just don't do it. I did see a cool concept art of the Tyrants. I would have preferred something like that. Defiant just seems.
I like the Venom too.
Yeah. To me, Defiant is just a soft approach for that message. Defiant is, if you wanted to take that stance, that's cool, that's awesome. Everybody's gonna kind of laugh at it, but I mean, if you want to go that, go as hard into it as you can. So yeah, like the Tyrants or some Overlords or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Just something very not passive aggressive, just full blown aggressive. That would have been the way to do it. The color scheme, yes, I agree. Like red, black, and white is totally overdone. The white and red is just like it's traditional. Like it's literally our national colors. You kind of have to. Because I mean, unfortunately, if they went any other way, if they went like a blue or something like that, it'd be like, oh, here's a Maple Leafs knockoff. You know what I mean? That's So they were kind of damned if they do, damned if they don't. I wish they would have done something totally out in left field and did the colors like the Florida Mayhem or something like that, like something that we just didn't really mesh, and they made it kind of their own. You know what I mean? So the colors are okay. The name is okay for me. The reasoning is okay. I'm a very mediocre across the board. I wish I could get more hyped up about it, but I really can't. And the Atlanta Reign, I hope you mean Team Valor, because like that was
definitely one of my memes too. I was gonna make that has been like outside of the Seattle Reign, which I've seen a lot too. Like the meme going around that they literally just changed the Team Valor logo a little bit. It's ridiculous. I don't see how they thought they could get away with that.
It's
especially in esports. It'd be one thing if it was like a football team or like a soccer team, but like in esports where it's all internet culture, that has to come up.
Yeah, well, it's just it, and like I feel I wouldn't be surprised if like Game Freak was like, you know what, guys, that's ours. We're taking you to court for that. You know what I mean? Like it's so close, and and like you said, the market is they're cross they're part of one another, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, I think there's so many things you could have done with Atlanta. Like Atlanta has like there's a lot of substance with Atlanta in the city and stuff like that. Look at any promo for the Atlanta Falcons. They do an incredible job of really capturing like the feel of the city and everything like that. Samuel L. Jackson does a great job. Like God love him. There was just so many ways you could have gone with this, and they chose none of them. So I mean, the color scheme's all right too. I don't know. It's the same. Yeah. It's the same crap, right?
No.
So I don't know.
So
let me hit it round two. I'm ready for round two on these boys. So you were bringing up like, oh yeah, like a traditional like Canadian colors. I thought if they would have went hard red and hard white, that would have been a sick color combo.
Probably would have been fine.
I think that's totally fine. But like their dominant color is like
black.
It's black.
It's black and red.
Is black and red. That's the two dominant colors, which I guess it kind of fits with the feel of like Defiant, because it's like edgy and Defiant's like kind of edgy, but like still like if they had that like stronger like like I said, if it was just red and white, that's not a tired combo, cool. Especially for the Overwatch League. Go with that. Okay, I'm done.
Instead of us making it look like we're like a Defiant, like this is a very like we're tired of being like pushed around and stuff like that. We just look like the edgy, pissed off teenager to the north. That's all we look like now. You know what I mean? That like it's mom. It's not a phase. That's what Toronto looks like right now. So man, they could have done so many better things. Like the more I talk about it, the more I get worked up about it because I first thought I'm like, okay, I can be okay with this. I can be okay with this. And then I keep thinking about it. I'm like, no, guys, we could have done so much better. Why didn't we?
Yeah.
So
now, I know what you might be thinking now. You might be thinking, wow, we're gonna have the same feeling for every team. These tired colors, these boring.
We're
things.
not going into this.
But just wait, hold on. Just wait. The DC cherry blossoms are going to come out. They're going to be using pink. They're going to be using white. It's going to be sick. They're going to have a sick name. It's going to be the perfect name for the city. God bless.
God bless.
Okay, you're cut off. If I can mute your mic at a push of a button, I would mute it right now. I'm going to have that ready for next week, so when you go on a Tyrant, I'm just going to push a button. It's going to show up on screen to everyone that you muted except for you, and then we're just going to move on when you're done. But...
I don't know, Chad seems to love his color scheme. Like, so, I mean, like, I don't know. He's already getting the fan.
I don't know how, but all of our audience has just got behind Dylan and are all with it.
It's such a good name.
Well,
it would be perfect.
Because it is, and it's very, like, okay, the big thing is, and I think a reason, besides, like, the meme aspect and why people are getting behind it, is because nobody is going to do, like, nobody will do it. So, and, like, it won't be tired. It won't be exhausted. And, like, if you do something like that, it's just like, oh, you can't not screw up their name. You can't not screw up their identity. You know what I mean? So it's like they're not going to get roped in like the Atlanta Reign. You know what I mean? So
yeah, it will be iconic. Like another team I think it did this perfectly. Outlaws, right? Texas team, Outlaws using green the way that you. Oh man, perfect branding.
Their logo's awesome too. I love
their logo's great. Yeah, they have perfect branding, and unfortunately, I think a lot of teams it's like. Some of them feel a little uninspired. A lot of them, you could just stick the name anywhere else and it wouldn't matter. You could just stick the name anywhere and it wouldn't matter. And it's not iconic for the area. Like Outlaws, oof, iconic right there. DC Cherry Blossoms, iconic.
I went and looked back at the Florida Mayhem logo and I was just like, man, why is this? And then I noticed that the fuse is a palm tree. And I'm like, that's such a nice little accent that really makes it Florida. You know what I mean? So like,
should we do an episode after all of them are? We just go through and rank every single Overwatch team based on the branding.
Yes, I will argue for hours about all of them.
That's the problem. It's going to have to be a multi-part video, series, because we will not be able to do this quickly.
I think we could do it in two. I think we could do it in 2 videos. I think we could do it.
Well, it's been about 15 minutes. And I still haven't got my impressions out because you two are just bringing up the Florida Mayhem.
I love Florida Mayhem. Right.
So, Atlanta Reign, agree. By far, my least favorite branding in all of the Overwatch League. I get why they did it, though. I'm coming to the defense of the Atlanta Reign. Not the name.
Oh, no.
Name, horrible. Logo, I can get behind. Do you know what their basketball team is?
Oh,
the Atlanta Hawks. Do you know what their football team?
Falcons, yeah.
The Falcons. Their entire city is birds. I don't know. I'm sure the soccer team even probably has something to do with it. I can get behind the logo. But I think they should have just gone with, like, the Atlanta Pterodactyl or something kind of like that. Some other flying thing. If you're going to go with that theme, commit to that theme. If you're going to keep that logo because you think, oh, the rest of our city is birds. We should stick to that. That's where that logo came from.
Yeah, because there's so many things you could, like, I mean, just think of, like, there's menacing names, too, like predators, birds of prey, raptors, you know what I mean? Like, there's so many bird-esque names that you could go with and still be a fairly menacing team. Plus, like, the logo...
Or even the Atlanta Flight or something kind of like that sounds cool.
Yeah, exactly. It could be something along those lines. I think there was a lot of... Like, there's a lot of options there, and I think it was just poor execution. The heads, you get where they're coming from, but the execution was just not there. I think the logo gets the point across, but it could have been done better. You know what I mean? So give it, like, because if you look at the Falcons like logo, it's sick. It's clean. It's mean looking. It's like, I mean, and you don't tell me you can't be a little inspired from that, like for their Overwatch team. I think nobody would care. Everybody would be like, hell yeah, because Atlanta would get behind it because Atlanta loves being Atlanta. You know what I mean? They love that shit. So yeah, no.
And I guess looking at the Define a little bit too, when it first came out, I'm like, okay, I really like this name. And then I'm like, okay, I can get behind the color scheme too. I'm like, that's definitely something I can get behind. And I guess the one thing either one you touch on, the logo I think is pretty cool. whatever you want to think about the Defiant or the color scheme, I think the logo is clean and simple, and it's going to be something like 100 Thieves that can be used as a kind of a fashion logo. That will be a very marketable brand based on the colors. It is literally the 100 Thieves colors. They could literally copy 100 Thieves gear with their logo on it and do fine and get it out into the market. Marketing wise, they will have no problem selling that brand because it is so generic and it is what people love. People love this color scheme for whatever reason. There's a reason this black, red, and white is done so often because it sells, people love it, and you can wear it out and know. I mean, I feel like this is one of my most common color combinations in my closet. So we'll get behind that. Team name is whatever. I agree that the more I think about it, I think it's just kind of a subpar team. I think it's better than some. I still like it better than Mayhem. I like it better than Excelsior, not the NYXL. But, like, it's a middle-of-the-pack name for me. It's not anything that's going to stand out, and it's not anything that's going to be down to the Atlanta Reign level. So, overall, I mean, I give that one, like, a 5, a 6 out of 10. The Atlanta Reign would be, like, a 3 to me. They're they really screwed this up, the messaging. And we have only a couple minutes here. But their announcement was kind of bland. They just put out a short video, like, here we are. Toronto didn't do a great job with their event. They hyped it up to be a big 4-hour event and like come join us and stuff kind of like that. Well, it was a half an hour stream that had some problems and like 13 countdowns, and then they're like, okay, goodbye. And I get that kind of more to get like used to the city and stuff like that, but they hyped it up to be such a big event, and it really, like, when they said it was done after half an hour, everyone's like that's all. There's no roster reveal, which kind of came later and stuff kind of like that. So I think I at least appreciate what Toronto tried to do, and they seem to have a much better idea for marketing and branding, which I can appreciate, versus the Atlanta Reign that literally just pushed something out. Like, okay, here we are. They were leaked, which is part of why they did that, but still, I don't think they ever had intentions of doing a big launch event.
Yeah, no.
But with that, we might actually look into an idea of branding all of the different, ranking all the brands of the different Overwatch team, because that is kind of fun, and I enjoy talking about that with that. But I think for today, that kind of covers up a lot of our news stories. Is there anything with like a minute or two do you guys want to run through, touch back on, bring back up? Dylan, any other rants you'd like to get out of your head today?
Oh, with only a couple minutes left, I don't think we can do it.
That wouldn't stop Dylan.
Yeah. I'll just yell into the void later.
Maybe next week. But I guess with that, thank you very much all for that participating in the chat, that was hanging out with us, any of our podcast listeners, anything kind of like that. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, downloading. It all means the world to us. I mean, we're all doing what we can. We've been doing it for over a year for you guys, so I'm glad you guys are still sticking around and interacting with us.
Oh, okay, well.
One of you two.
Which one?
Dylan,
James first. It's James
supposed
first.
to be you, man. It's supposed to be you.
Man.
We
okay, sorry everyone. Everyone, you can follow us on every single podcast platform. You can find us on the Game Haus. You can on their Twitch and on their YouTube. We go live every single Monday at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. All our stuff always goes live the following day.
We screw this up so often that you have to think that we do it on purpose at this point. James,
just go out there and find us on. We're everywhere. It's Spotify, iTunes. Just search Project Esports Podcast. We're out there.
James, what does it mean to the people? I mean to us if the people did what?
Guys, if you guys can sit here and watch us battle through this, this alone means the world to us. So if you check us a follow, you check us a subscribe, you comment on something, you just imagine what that does, because you guys sit here every week and watch us screw this up for over a year. So yeah, it means the world to us, guys. But with that, I'm gonna wrap this up. I'm James.
I'm Dylan.
And I'm Andrew, and that is how you close an episode. See you guys next week, and thank you for watching the Project Esports Podcast. Oh boy, that was a bigger struggle than normal, I think.
It's just that long. So okay, as soon as I looked in the document, I saw only one other person in there, and I was like, Dylan's not looking at it. Dylan's not looking at the document.
I had it open. I wasn't looking at it.
Jesus,
it wasn't me. I know the order. I have the order now. But we should hop off. We should stop the stream now because we are a minute over for Woody. So anyone that is watching still, stay tuned. Woody's going live right after this. Maybe he's been sick. If not, watch Watch House tomorrow night, same time. They'll talk about all the Overwatch news that we missed over. Thank you guys for tuning in. Download, follow us on Twitter, all that. See you guys later.